provide you with the lowest per GB rates, night or day. SLT 4G, driving you ever forward.
Making headlines for First at 9. Piece of the pie. Political parties debate on the composition of the Parliamentary Select Committee.
It is absolutely necessary that that government should have a majority in parliamentary select committees. This has been consistently followed.
Backup plan. The Cabinet approves a vote on account until next year's budget is prepared. Another point of contention. UNP hands over a motion alleging the Prime Minister and the Cabinet have no right for monetary management. It is unwarranted. The central bank denounces Moody's decision to downgrade Sri Lanka. America first. US President Donald Trump won't take a hard line on Saudi Arabia even if Crown Prince knew of Jamal Khashoggi's murder.
බයික් එකක් ගත්තොත් ෆෝන් එකක්. ඔව් තෝරාගත් යමහා බයික් මාදිලි සඳහා රුපියල් 40000ක් දක්වා වටිනා ස්මාර්ට් ෆෝන් එකක් නොමිලේ. ඉක්මන් කරන්න නොවැම්බර් 30 දක්වා පමණයි. කොන්දේසි සහිතයි. අමතන්න 0117 AMW තින් පමණයි.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Ekanaika. Now let's start with your local stories. The composition of the Parliamentary Select Committee proved to be a divisive topic when it was taken up in the House on Monday, as it led to a heated exchange between the governing party and the opposition. The government is of the view that it should be allocated more members in the Select Committee. Some of the leading political parties handed over their nominations for the Parliamentary Select Committee today, while others are expected to do so on Friday. With the conclusion of a parliamentary session, 12 parliamentary committees which function became defunct. It makes appointing members for the Parliamentary Select Committee in order to establish other relevant committees essential. Accordingly, on Monday, the Deputy Speaker informed all party leaders to hand over their nominations for the Parliamentary Select Committee. The government, however, suggested the majority of the committee should comprise representatives of the government, which led to a heated situation since the opposition believed the allocations should reflect the composition of Parliament. In such a backdrop, the governing party today submitted their nominations to the Parliamentary Select Committee. Accordingly, UPFA members Dinesh Gunawardena, SB Disanayaka, Tilanga Sumatipala, Mahinda Samarsinghe, Nimal Siripal de Silva, Vimal Veerawansa and Uday Gammampila have been nominated. As per norm, the government should have more members in the Select Committee. Accordingly, we request more members to our party, which is the governing party. The power of the Select Committee is vested with the party, which has the majority in Parliament. If the proposed government prove the majority, we will give them the majority, so we challenge them to show it. We have 122 in Parliament, and they don't have a right to ask for the majority in the Select Committee without having it in Parliament. You will know on Friday. The decision of the Speaker is final. No one can question it, be it the President or the Supreme Court.
There is absolutely no dispute about this issue. It is very clear in terms of the law and the conventions of Parliament. It has been the invariable practice and the acknowledged legal position that the government of the day must have a majority in committees of selection. What is the government? Who constitutes the government? That is the sole responsibility of His Excellency the President. This is made abundantly clear by Article 42, Sub-Article 4 of the Constitution, which says that it is the duty of the President to appoint as Prime Minister the person who, in his opinion, commands the confidence of the majority of the members of Parliament. That is a function that can be exercised only by the President, by nobody else, not the Speaker, no one else. Therefore, in this country, there is only one legally constituted government, and that is the government headed by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. For that government to carry out properly its functions in Parliament, it is absolutely necessary that that government should have a majority in parliamentary select committees. This has been consistently followed. We cannot forget the fact that after the 8th of January 2015, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe had only 43 seats in Parliament, only 43 seats, when the UPFA had more than 150 seats in Parliament. But because the Honourable Ranil Wickremesinghe had been appointed at that time as Prime Minister by His Excellency President Maithripala Sirisena, therefore it followed that the majority of members in the Select Committee should belong to Ranil Wickremesinghe's party. That position was accepted without any dispute or question. Now, why is there an inconsistency today? Don't forget that the appointment of the Honourable Mahinda Rajapaksa as Prime Minister by the President has not been challenged. It was never challenged before the Supreme Court. What was in issue in the current litigation before the Supreme Court was the legality of the dissolution of Parliament. That's a separate issue.
In the meantime, the Janatha Vimukthi Peramuna too handed over their nominations for the Parliamentary Select Committee to the Secretary-General of Parliament. On a separate note, estimations were made today on the damage caused to the Parliament chamber and its equipment during recent sessions. Several chairs, tables and microphones in the House were damaged owing to clashes. All the property of the Parliament are insured under normal circumstances. Director of the Department of Finance and Supplies of Parliament, Mervyn Jayashantha, stated that the relevant insurance company conducted necessary estimations today. In the meantime, the media unit of the Speaker announced that the Secretary-General of Parliament today lodged a complaint with the Criminal Investigation Department over a fake letter circulating in social media platforms. The letter in question is purported to be addressed to Chief Justice Nalin Pereira by Speaker Karu Jayasuriya. Now, a group of UNP parliamentarians handed over a motion to the Secretary-General of Parliament today, alleging that as per Article 148 of the Constitution, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and the new government do not have the right for monetary management since the Speaker does not recognise the new PM or the government. The motion states that it is illegal to release state money for salaries and other means of the current cabinet, cabinet ministers or state or deputy ministers and their private staff effective from the 15th of this month. UNP parliamentarians also claimed that it is unconstitutional to release state money for foreign tours as well as domestic helicopter tours. Although our constitution says that the president selects a prime minister, the head of state can't arbitrarily appoint one. Parliamentary privileges and powers of Article 7 of the Constitution states that if our constitution remains silent over any issue, we must adhere to the parliamentary traditions of Great Britain. So, as per the traditions of the British Parliament, only a member who commands the majority confidence of the Parliament should be appointed as Prime Minister. That is the rule. But President Maithripala Sirisena has been wrongly instructed about all of these. It was the United National Party which appointed the President, and if he had a problem with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, he could have spoken to us. I clearly told Mahinda Rajapaksa that if he continues to be the Prime Minister without having the majority confidence in Parliament, it will disgrace his name. The Lonely Planet named Sri Lanka as the top tourist destination, but then, due to political uncertainty, around 30% of tourists cancelled their trips to Sri Lanka. The IMF and many other nations have temporarily halted their funding to the country. The European Union has also informed Sri Lanka that they might have to cut off GSP Plus concession. Meanwhile, on another note, UNP parliamentarian Navin Dissanayake backtracked on the comment he made yesterday, where he said the party will front a common candidate to contest the presidential election. What we ask for is to hold the presidential election and the general election together. The president can contest once more if he desires. I told the media yesterday that we will bring a common candidate, but what I actually hoped to say was that we will bring a leader of the United National Party as the presidential candidate. The way I communicated my idea was misleading, and I'm sorry. In the meantime, UNP MP Chaminda Vijayasiri heralded a warning to the UNP leadership. Characters that the public want to see elected must come forward as presidential candidates. If not, I'd have to think about the country and not the party and join hands with people outside the UNP. We stress the need for a common candidate, but he should be a member of the UNP. Leader of the United National Party, MP Ranil Wickremesinghe stresses that a legal government should be established before a general election since the result can be challenged in court. The former Prime Minister made this remark while addressing party organisers at Temple Trees this morning. Leader of the United National Party, Parliamentarian Ranil Wickremesinghe, addressing a function at the Temple Trees this morning, said that not only the Parliament's majority, but he also has the country's majority. He said that they fought to strengthen the Parliament democracy via the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, but their endeavour is not supported by the Executive. The former Prime Minister also said that the current Parliament has its term until 2020, and if a general election is desired by any faction, all parties in Parliament must decide on it. He added that the suspension of standing orders can be done in urgent situations. He went on to say that even the 18th Amendment to the Constitution was brought following suspension of standing orders. MP Wickremesinghe reminded that MP Ravi Karunanayake has brought a motion questioning the allocation of funds for the Prime Minister's office in a situation where the Speaker has announced that a cabinet ceased to exist. He also challenged the government to defeat it when it will be taken up in Parliament on Friday. Now, the United People's Freedom Alliance alleges that the United National Party had planned the murder of President Maithripala Sirisena during the time when the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was tabled. UPFA parliamentarian Sanat Nishantha made the allegation during a media briefing held at the Prime Minister's office today. The United National Party planned to murder President Maithripala Sirisena when they prepared the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. That's why they added a clause which states in the event of the President's death, the Prime Minister should take the position of the President until the end of the President's tenure. These plans are now revealed, and the national security along with the economy of the country have already collapsed. That's why President Sirisena decided to make Mahinda Rajapaksa the Prime Minister. The UNP is scared of going before the people. If the Supreme Court gives a ruling on the 7th of December, saying that the Parliament can't be dissolved, this country will be destroyed within the next 1.5 years. If Mahinda Rajapaksa stole the premiership, why didn't the United National Front and the JVP go to court? When MP Sumandiran met the Cardinal, the MP said that going to court is unfavourable for them. The executive of this country is above the legislature. The only wrong thing is Ranil Wickremesinghe misusing public property. Holding a general election is the only solution for this issue. One side of the parliamentary gallery was filled with foreigners recently. It was the same international community which attempted to force a stop to the war back in 2008. That's why we asked them to bring the no-confidence motion properly and legally. We are ready to face it. The only political solution we see is an election. In the meantime, former parliamentarian of the Gul district, Geeta Kumarasinghe, today arrived at the Election Commission to notify the cancellation of her dual citizenship.
I handed over the document of cancellation of dual citizenship to the Election Commissioner. It even affected my private life. Last time I won with 67,000 votes. I'm sure I'll have 3 times this time.
Documents were handed over today. She won't face any legal irregularities. This amendment was brought to stop the Rajapaksas. Geeta Kumarasinghe became an unfortunate victim in this. Now moving on to other local stories, Minister of International Trade and Investment Promotion, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, says that the Cabinet of Ministers approved the Finance Minister's proposal to present a vote on account until the budget for the next year is prepared. Minister Gunawardena made this remark speaking to media after the Cabinet met at the Presidential Secretariat this morning.
Prime
Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, as the Finance Minister, received the Cabinet approval to go ahead with a vote on account until the government prepares a budget for next year. When a vote on account is passed, there is no issue over making payments from the consolidated fund. What right do they have to say that? They can't refuse what the country's government asks them to do. Parliament can't challenge the powers of the executive. The Governor of the Central Bank, Secretary to the Treasury and other officials from the Treasury met the President and the Ministers just after the Cabinet meeting. They depicted what MP Mangala Samaravira claims about the economy to be lies. If it is illegal, what's the use of telling it to media? It should be challenged before the judiciary. The majority can be shown at the right time. The opposition don't have any hopes. Time will resolve the majority issue. In the meantime, UNP MP Vasantha Senanayake, who claimed that he resigned from his ministerial post, however participated in today's cabinet meeting. MP Senanayake expressed his support to the new government when President Maithripala Sirisena appointed former President Mahinda Rajapaksa as the new Prime Minister. On the same day, however, he met UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe and pledged support. MP Senanayake arrived at the Presidential Secretariat the next day and took oath as the Minister of Tourism and Wildlife in the new government. When a no-confidence motion was brought by the opposition against the government, Minister Senanayake, however, said that he will back the UNP as the government did not have the majority. Minister Vasantha Senanayake participated in today's cabinet meeting headed by President Maithripala Sirisena, and his presence was confirmed by Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe and Minister Uday Gammanpila. Sri Lankan national Lahiru Madushanka, who was arrested in the Maldives in 2015 under allegations of attempting to assassinate former Maldivian President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Gayoom, has been released. Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government of Sri Lanka, Faisal Mustafa, stated that the case has been dismissed due to lack of evidence. We are going to move in for a short commercial break, and when we come back, we have the central bank's response for Moody's decision to downgrade Sri Lanka. Stay tuned.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka today denounced the move by Moody's Investors Service to downgrade Sri Lanka from B1 to B2. Releasing a communique, the central bank said that the decision of Moody's does not properly reflect the country's macroeconomic fundamentals and therefore unwarranted. Given the fact Moody's cited the country's political impasse as a contributing factor behind the downgrade, the central bank insisted that Sri Lanka's macroeconomic position has neither deteriorated nor has there been any policy slippage since Moody's last rating decision in July of this year. Releasing a communique, the central bank said that it is of the view the decision of Moody's does not properly reflect the country's macroeconomic fundamentals and therefore unwarranted. Moody's Investors Service yesterday downgraded Sri Lanka's foreign currency issue and senior unsecured rating to B2 from B1 and changed the outlook to stable from negative. Moody's said that the decision was driven by the view that ongoing tightening in external and domestic financing conditions and low reserve adequacy, exacerbated most recently by a political crisis, which seems to likely have a lasting impact on policy even if ostensibly resolved quickly, have heightened refinancing risks beyond levels anticipated when the rating agency affirmed the rating at B1 with a negative outlook in July. In response to this, the central bank said in its communique it wishes to reiterate that Sri Lanka's macroeconomic position has neither deteriorated nor has there been any policy slippage since Moody's last rating decision in July of this year, in spite of the recent developments in the country's political sphere. The statement went on to say that based on satisfactory program performance, the Sri Lankan authorities and the International Monetary Fund reached staff-level agreement following the 5th review of the Extended Fund Facility Program on the 26th of October, and the agreement was to be announced on the 29th of October. It, however, conceded that the program discussions are currently on hold, pending clarity on the political situation. The central bank stressed that Sri Lanka's current level of gross official reserves amounting to $7.2 billion is sufficient for the country to meet its external debt obligations in the period ahead. In addition, as a precautionary measure, the CBSL has initiated negotiations with central banks of friendly nations with regard to obtaining foreign currency swap facilities of sizable amounts. Elaborating on Sri Lanka's debt obligations, the CBSL listed out how it aims to sustain Sri Lanka's track record of meeting debt obligations on time. Amongst other measures, it said, in order to meet the government's external liabilities of international sovereign bond maturities of $1 billion in January of 2019 and $500 million in April of 2019, the authorities have already built a buffer fund from proceeds of the divestment of Hambantota Port and the syndicated loan of China Development Bank. The CBSL also insisted that domestic financing conditions have shown considerable improvement through spaces created and debt management strategies introduced recently, saying this has reduced the rollover requirement of Treasury bonds and SLDBs in 2019, 2020 and in the medium term. In conclusion, the central bank's statement read, "The CBSL is of the view that the recent rating action by Moody's is unwarranted and such action only on the premise of heightened political uncertainty with no evidence of slippage of macroeconomic policies cannot be justified." The International Monetary Fund has said that it had delayed discussions on Sri Lanka's next loan tranche due to the country's political uncertainty. Reuters quoted an email they received from an IMF spokesman which said that the IMF is monitoring the situation and remain in close contact with its technical counterparts in Sri Lanka. The email quoted by Reuters adds, "Programme discussions on the fifth review of the IMF's extended fund facility are currently on hold, pending clarity on the political situation." The IMF has disbursed over $1 billion out of a $1.5 billion three-year extended fund facility loan it agreed in 2016. In September, the IMF said its mission had made significant progress towards reaching a staff-level agreement with the government on completing the fifth review of the EFF, and discussions will continue during the annual meeting of the IMF and the World Bank in October. After completion of the fifth review, Sri Lanka would expect to receive a sixth tranche of about $250 million. The total loan was expected to have been disbursed with a seventh tranche by mid-2019. And now to give you a market update, the all-share price index ended 0.04% at 5,950.19 today. It declined 0.39% last week and has fallen 6.5% so far this year. Market turnover was 594.1 million rupees, less than this year's daily average of 836.9 million rupees. Foreigners bought a net 10.2 million rupees worth of stocks today. We now have Achyutan Srirangan from First Capital Holdings with a detailed report.
The close ended on a green on a gain made by Dialog and John Keels, the reversing a negative sentiment witnessed on last Monday. Both turnover and volume have increased, while nearly 44% of the turnover was derived from NDB. A net foreign inflow witnessed after 3 outflow sessions with a high foreign participation.
Let's take a look at how the currency fared. The Sri Lankan rupee fell to an all-time low of 179 rupees and 4 cents against the dollar today. Currency surpassed its previous low of 177 rupees and 35 cents hit on Monday. Rupee was weakened more than 3.3% since the current political situation began on the 26th of October and more than 16.4% so far this year. Here's a look at how the rupee traded against other currencies around the world. Time to look at news from around the world. Now, US President Donald Trump defended his relations with Saudi Arabia in the wake of global outrage over the murder of US-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Speaking to reporters yesterday, President Trump said that he will not destroy the global economy by being tough on Saudi Arabia over Khashoggi's murder, despite the CIA's belief that the murder was ordered by Saudi Crown Prince. US President Donald Trump came to office claiming that he will put America first. Nothing the president has done so far suggests that he plans on veering from that philosophy. The US president strongly defended his ties with Saudi Arabia yesterday despite international condemnation of journalist Jamal Khashoggi's murder. Releasing a statement, Trump said the kingdom is a steadfast partner that has agreed to invest a record amount of money in the US. The president acknowledged Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman could very well have known about Khashoggi's murder and added that in any case, US relationship is with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Khashoggi was murdered on the 2nd of October on a visit to the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. In an interview on Sunday, President Trump told Fox News that he had refused to listen to a recording of Khashoggi's murder provided by Turkey, calling it a suffering tape. Later on yesterday, Trump said that he will not destroy the global economy by being tough on Saudi Arabia over the murder of US-based journalist Khashoggi, although the CIA believes Khashoggi's murder was ordered by that country's crown prince. He was also asked why he is siding with the Saudis over his own intelligence services.
Because it's America first for me. We're not going to give up hundreds of billions of dollars in orders and let Russia, China, and everybody else have them. It's all about, for me, very simple. It's America first. Saudi Arabia, if we broke with them, I think your oil prices would go through the roof. I've kept them down. They've helped me keep them down. I'd like to see it go down even lower. The
US president was asked for his reaction to a Washington Post newspaper statement saying Trump was putting his own commercial interests first.
I have nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. They're buying hundreds of billions of dollars worth of things from this country. If I say we don't want to take your business, if I say we're going to cut it off, they will get the equipment, military equipment and other things from Russia and China. Russia and China would be very, very happy because right now we're doing very well against China. We're doing very well against everybody, including Russia, and I'm going to keep it that way. I'm not going to destroy the world economy, and I'm not going to destroy the economy for our country by being foolish with Saudi Arabia.
When asked about the CIA's belief that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered Jamal Khashoggi's killing, the US president had this to say.
They didn't make a determination. They have nothing definitive. And the fact is, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. If you look at Iran, what they've done, they've been a bad actor. You look at what's happening in Syria with Assad, with hundreds of thousands of people killed. We are with Saudi Arabia.
Former Sri Lanka peace negotiator Erik Solheim has resigned from his post yesterday. The Associated Press quoted UN officials as saying that Solheim, the UN Environment Chief, resigned after an audit out questioning his huge travel expenses triggered an outcry. It said Solheim announced on the UN Environment Programme's website that he would step down after receiving the final report of the audit of his official travel by the UN's internal watchdog on Saturday. Its findings were not disclosed, but the Guardian newspaper reported in September that a draft internal UN audit found Solheim had spent almost $500,000 on air travel and hotels in just 22 months and was away from the organization's Nairobi base 80% of the time. Globetrotting raised accusations that he showed little regard for the environment and efforts to reduce carbon emissions generated by air travel.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Now moving on to your weather forecast for tomorrow. The low pressure zone in the southwest Bay of Bengal still persists to the north of Sri Lanka. Now this will bring showers and thunder showers to most provinces of the island over the next 24 hours. Fairly strong winds of up to 50 to 60 kilometers per hour and rough seas can also be expected in the northern sea areas. Showers are expected in the coastal line extending from Porterville to Putlam via Trincomalee, Kankasanture and Mannar. And here's a look at your city-by-city forecast. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. And before we go, we'd like to take you to the Tissamaharama temple in the southern province. Renowned as one of the 4 main Buddhist monasteries in Sri Lanka, the temple was established after the arrival of Arhat Mahinda to the country. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.